Now we have a chance for a question and answer about this topic, or the one that you had in the afternoon, or any other topic that you have in mind. It's a great blessing that we have Dr. Yossi with us. Okay? So it's a big blessing that you have Dr. Yossi with us, so we don't want to waste this chance to ask him any question that we may have in mind. So I'll pass back the mic, and we expect to grill Dr. Yossi with all the hard questions that I can't answer. So this is our chance.
Be merciful, be merciful.
Be merciful.
Yes, be merciful. Okay. Yes. Thank you.
Sometimes we can go say, sorry, I made a mistake. This is, I think, every house has something.
Yeah.
But it's very hard.
Very hard to say sorry?
It is very hard to who says first.
Yeah.
I know there is no problem.
Yeah.
Something like this. But most of the time, when there's like argument or
Yeah.
it is very hard to control ourselves and to say, I'm sorry.
Thank you. I'm going to rephrase the question. Just the question is about the difficulty we find in asking for forgiveness or apologizing to each other at home, especially between the spouses. And also, we have here the big problem, or the big stumbling stone, which is self-pride. Who starts? Who initiates? Who starts the apology or the forgiveness thing? You know, this is a very good question. Why? Because in our life in general, and that's something that please keep in mind. I like to talk all the time, maybe my wife knows that, talk about something called priorities, setting priorities. When we deal with or handle our daily life and problems, we need to be programmed here in our minds according to priorities. What is the most significant priority in life? What is the less significant? What is the least significant thing? Number one. Number two is farsightedness. Farsightedness. You know, in many ways, we human beings in general, not only just Christians, in general, we love to work on according to the short term. We don't look beyond today or tomorrow or next month or next year. You know, although we always say we have to live the here and now, this is a true statement in one sense. But on the other sense, when we work on the here and now, we have to think of what would happen in the long term. So if we start to think of priorities here, what is the most significant priority in our life? What do you think? If I ask you, what is your best wish for your child? And you say, I want to raise my child in a way to become successful and doctor or an engineer and worker and find the right spouse and have a happy family, and then I can die in peace. Okay, that's fine. But you forgot something even more significant than that. It's the salvation. Khalas nafsu. His or her salvation. Don't you think that for a Christian, this should be our most significant priority in our life? the salvation of your son and daughter. That's why we are here today. When we talked about self-control and family altar and all this stuff, we are here just to help each other to be saved, to go to Christ, to go to heaven. You know, if you are a bad model, role model for your child, and your child will follow your steps to hell, then they will suffer not only in this world, but they will lose their spirituality. So, back to your question, ma'am. When I start to think of who's going to start, who's going to initiate, I have to think of something. My spouse is 100% wrong, but I need to save him. Not me, but Christ. This is my wish. This is my plan to help him to be saved. In order to help my husband be saved, maybe I need to go one day and say, I'm sorry. Even if I was not, if I were not the wrong person, if I was not the wrong person or the mistaken person, but still, I need to go and say, I'm sorry, probably I hurt your feeling. That's why you did this and that to me. I'm sorry. And you say it from the down of your heart, the depths of your heart, with all humbleness. You know, then this may wake him up and take him to Christ and help him be more honest with himself, more conscientious. When they see, and that's why the Bible said, for example, in 1 Peter chapter 3, wives, submit yourselves before or for your husbands. And he said that, St. Peter said that many wrong husbands, many bad husbands were gained back to Christ, were won to Christ. They knew Christ because of the good deeds of their wives, because of the Christian behavior of their wives, because of the humbleness of their wives. And of course we remember in our history figures like that, like who? Saint Monica. You remember Saint Monica, the mother of Saint Augustine? And her husband was an atheist and idol worshipper and alcoholic and all this stuff. And then she, through her humble behavior, she could win him back to Christ Jesus, and he was baptized and saved. That's good. So what was very peculiar, very special about Saint Monica, as they call her in California, and Sayyidina, His Grace Bishop Serapion, is having the family committee, and he gave the name of Santa Monica in the Spanish name, Santa Monica, because he said she was a real and ideal mother, a real and ideal wife. So that's the way that we need to handle family matters and differences, setting the priorities, thinking of salvation, helping the other to come back to Christ by any means. This will help us to feel better, even if we go against our dignity and our self-pride sometimes. What else? Yes.
Hi. My question is, let's say that you know somebody who's an addict, and
Say it again, please. I couldn't hear.
Okay, so I was just saying, let's just say you know somebody who's an addict, right?
Yeah.
So whatever they're addicted to drugs, to shopping, to whatever they're addicted to, right? So my question is, now let's say they've had medical intervention, but like they really, are not in a space where they want to be healed, right? So what is your advice to the addict, and what is your advice to the people around that person?
Thank you. That's an easy question because that's my work. Okay. Well, if we have an addict at home and say you are aware of his addiction or her addiction problem one way or another, or the family is aware, what should we do? Usually we have two things to do. First thing is praying for him all the time, unceasingly. Second thing is called empathetic confrontation. Or loving confrontation. At one point or the other, when we see the person who is addicted is going down the hill, hurting himself or herself, unstoppable, by all means, we have to do something. We cannot let him do that or let her do that all the life. Okay? All the life. We can't. We have to have something like a family session, and should be well prepared, in advance, and then we say to the person and say, well, dear brother, dear sister, dear son, dear child, you have a problem. And this is not an easy thing. Sometimes we need the help of a professional in the addiction side called an interventionist. Interventionist may charge you $5,000 to do the job with you, just for the few hours they will spend because it's a very high-skilled profession, to intervene or to confront an addict and to help the addict go into treatment. And this is our objective. Confrontation means that you have a problem, we all agree about that, we know that, and you are hurting yourself, but we love you so much. We are not here to judge you, and this is very important, that he or she will never perceive you from a judgmental point of view, because if he or she feels judged, probably resentment will happen here. But they need to feel they are accepted unconditionally, forgiven unconditionally, not only by me, but also by God. Especially when we know that addiction is a kind of disease now. Addiction is a big science now, and we have so much advancement and developments, positive approaches in the last 30 years, especially in the last 30 years, and much more in the last 20 years. Conferences all the time, research work. So we are considering now addiction like a disease, not a social behavior or disorder or something. It's more like something related to genetics, something related to circumstances, depression, and so on. So we have to look at the same way God may look at any person, especially, alcoholics. It has some genetic problem. Alcoholic children or adult children of alcoholics may be more vulnerable to become alcoholics themselves, and so on. And the same applies for any kind of addiction. Not only substance abuse can happen with drug addicts. With people who are addicted to shopping, as you may say, people addicted to pornography, people addicted to sex, people addicted to gambling, people addicted to physical exercise, people addicted, for example, to work, like workaholics. Some people like to be workaholics and addicted to work. They prefer work than anything else in life. So that's the point. Praying unceasingly and confrontation. But confrontation should be done, I prefer myself to be done with the guide or with preparation with a counselor or a professional. There are so many professional addiction counselors or psychiatrists in this regard. Okay, especially if it is too much advanced. The disease is reached some bad stage. Else, anything? Yeah. Yes.
When was our responsibility? towards our kids.
When
When
our responsibility towards our kids.
When they grow up and they have their own way and be married,
Yes.
they just don't listen to us anymore.
Yeah. Good question, ma'am. Good question.
It's
You
not going to-
are hitting the button down.
It's just in the eyes of God. I don't care what the
Okay.
society.
I want you just to go home safe today for you. So, and me too. Okay. Well, no hard feelings. Parents should end their job once their children start to reach age of adulthood. Start. Actually, go a little bit earlier. You know why our teenagers, why they start to become obnoxious, rebel, not nice to us, disobedient, misbehaving all the time. Why? Some people may say, oh my God, I wish my girl will remain at age 10 or 11 forever. I don't want to imagine that my daughter will be like 13 or 14 or 15. Or my son, same thing, No, actually it's God's plan. One of the things that we put according to God's design and plan, that our children, once they hit teenage, they start to prepare me as a parent and say, Dad, Mom, we're not going to live with you forever. Okay? So expect me to say no, because I have a different personality. I have to be independent. I have to learn. I know they try to learn it the hard way sometimes, but still it's nature. It's nature. We have to be prepared that our children will become 16 and then 18. They go to college, then they leave. They become on their own. They have jobs. Then they get married. And then once they get married, it's over. It's over because, from the beginning, said that a man shall leave his what? Father and mother, and cleave to whom? Join his wife. That's what it says. Shall leave. When God says shall, it means that this is a plan. And he said it very early in the Bible. He said it. It was written in Genesis chapter 2, maybe 1 or 2. Yeah. When Eve was created, God said that Adam and your offsprings, your sons and grandsons will leave their parents, dad and mom, and join their wives, and the two become one, and start a new life, a new home, a new family. And that's why we are in trouble now these days sometimes, because parents hate that. I am a parent, and just my son or my daughter would get married at one day and say, oh my God, I will have to suffer, me and my wife or me and my husband, from what's called the empty nest syndrome. Empty nest. Oh, I'm just looking into my husband's face or my wife's face all day long. Where are the kids? Oh, all gone. Sorry. But I need them. I've become dependent on them. I can't live without them. Sorry. It's nature. It's God's plan. Leave them alone. You don't have to even just, I don't want to say it, will be mad, even to call them. Let them call you. Don't call them. Let them call you. And when they call you too much or too many times, you say, why are you calling me that much? You have to pay attention to your husband. Have to pay attention to your wife. You are married now. You are not my child, but you are a husband or a wife. And that's how you help your children become independent while you are still living, while I'm still living. If they need something, God forbid, they may call us. Mom, I don't know how to cook molokhaya for my husband. That's another different story. But if it starts the opposite way, that you call your son and say, my son, is your wife good in doing molokhaya for you? Does she do it the same way like you? Does she clean your clothes like I used to do? Then you're asking innocent questions. Do you think that these are innocent questions? Of course not. You are saying, yes, I miss you a lot and I don't know. I wish this marriage never happened. And because, that's what's called emotional dependence. Too much investment in our children's lives. We have to let them go and find some way to fill our times by going out, by volunteering our time, by doing this and that for church, for the community. But intruding ourselves into our children's lives after marriage is wrong. It's completely wrong and leads to many, many problems, as you can see that these days. So please remember that our relationship with our children changes over the time because they grow from childhood to adolescence, then to adulthood and maturity, and they leave. And we have to be prepared for that. Wow. ايه السؤال طيب؟
امتى ربنا مش هيحاسبنا على اولادنا؟
انت قصدك حسابنا؟ حساب ما that's what I'm saying. Just what? Yeah. Once they
if he's smoking.
Yeah, okay.
And I need him to stop.
They got married or not?
He's married.
Okay, then pray for them. Pray for them. There is not that much to do anymore. I mean, you pray. Advice giving is useless and fruitless and hopeless because جلدهم نحس. They used to listen to our advices over the time for years and years and years, And if we were not successful in changing their minds when they are 6 and 7 and 8 and 9, then it will never work when they are 15, 16, 17. They call it, you are lecturing me again, mom or dad. I am fed up. I am fed up with these lectures. I can't take it anymore. Or they will listen to you, but they will just, obstruct their ears and say, okay, say whatever, It doesn't work. Actually, advice giving all the time, especially when they are adults, like what you say, would make them more resistant to change. Okay, because they will develop a sort of defensive mechanism that will keep all these voices away from them. Because every time we give them an advice, we trigger what's called guilt feelings within them. And guilt is very hard to deal with. So the best way to deal with guilt for them is just to block away any other voices and say, okay, I don't care about anything. So please, advice giving is not useful. All what's useful now is praying for them and loving them and caring for them. And if you are frustrated, and I know sometimes we are frustrated, we have to communicate our frustrations with somebody else, not with our children, or with their wives or their husbands. Just communicate your frustrations with somebody else, especially with Jesus Christ, because nothing will change except love and prayer. Love them and accept them. Okay? Because they know they are doing the wrong thing. When they smoke, they know well that they have been doing the wrong thing. And our advices will do not change, no more changes in their lives.
After Dr. Yusuf's permission, I would like to add the following. Sometimes we expect things from our children, and we tell them what they need to do. But we rarely say how and why. So we address the what, but never the what, the why, or the how. what Dr. Yusri is saying is that don't they already know that smoking is bad for them and difficult for them? They probably heard it a million times before. So instead of just going out and saying, well, stop smoking, stop smoking, stop smoking, that never worked before. How about thinking for other ideas? If we are really going to help them, it's not just about going to them and say do or don't. Okay, maybe we can consult with someone, a friend, someone can intervene, or a physician, or give them something practical of how they can stop smoking. So that's the idea here, is we need to start checking out different techniques and how to deal with our children. Because in their, what Dr. Yusri said, in their mind it's like a broken record. They already know. Do your homework, eat vegetables, stop smoking, don't hit your sister. Okay, fine. But how do I actually do this? We need to be creative a little bit and start to do other things. For children, as they get older adults, whether some of them are married, some are not married, what Dr. Yusri is saying, you need to start giving them some kind of independence and the ability to make correct decisions in life. Because otherwise, they will always be dependent on, Mom didn't tell me to do my homework, so I'm not going to do my homework. Mom didn't tell me to stay away from this friend, so I'm going to stay with that friend. So as they are getting older, psychologically they need to feel independent from their parents and able to do sound, good decisions for their life and their future. You're asking maybe about, an age as soon as they turn, 15 and one day you're on your own. It's never going to happen like this. It's a gradual thing until they reach, and what Dr. Yusri is saying that as they're getting older, let them come to you for advice, because they know that they will hear from the parent the sound and good advice. This way, it's going to be very effective in their ears, because they know I can come to mom or dad, not always them just telling me over and over what I need to do. I know that wisdom lies in my parents, and it's not just wisdom that is thrown out into the air. No, when they seek it, it's going to be very much more effective. And this is why the sacrament of confession and repentance in our church is amazing. Because our children, when they come and they seek some kind of advice from the priest or from wise counselors like Dr. Yusri, for example, they are the ones who are seeking it. It's not just because their parents are making it. No, they are coming and they're there like sitting ducks. Right? They are ready and willing to listen. And they are going and they are seeking the advice of the Holy Spirit given to them by the hands of this individual whom God has appointed. So these are things that we should encourage. Also going to the parents, to counselors, to older people who are wiser. So I think this is the approach. It's not about when. In my opinion, parents always will feel responsible for their children no matter how old they are. And I've seen my grandmother, God rest her soul. She passed away, my dad's mother passed away about 2 years ago. And I always give this an example, and I embarrass my dad everywhere I go. Because I've seen her, whenever she sees him, she was like, I don't know, maybe in her late 80s or early 90s, telling him, be careful when you're crossing the streets, and you're careful when there are people who want to take advantage of you. Don't trust everyone. And my dad is approaching his 70s, and my grandma was like in her late 80s. And so in that sense, parents always feel responsible for their children. But I think mentally, bit by bit, we are understanding that we should also give them the tools on how to find the answer, not us necessarily always running after them and telling them what to do.
Thank you, Abuna. Abuna, while talking, just hit my mind also, you remind me something that you may do even without any word, like during your, on your child's birthday, and for example, that he's a heavy smoker, you can send him a gift like a smoking cessation kit for like a couple $100 or $100 or whatever. I mean, it's becoming cheaper these days, but at least you give him a message without a word, just this a helper. And he will just probably appreciate that and honor that because it's coming from mom or dad, So things like that without direct approach or direct advice. Thank you, Abuna Bishoy, for your input. It's beautiful. What else? Any other? Yes.
Okay, that was talking about the parents. What about for the children? I'm already out. How can I tell my mom not to worry about me anymore? Because I'm already
If I were her, I would worry.
Absolutely. Actually, it's almost impossible to ask any parent not to worry about a child. It's very hard, But you can always assure your parent that you are mature, you have good judgment, you think before making decisions, as we mentioned earlier today, feeling, thinking, and acting. You are not impulsive. Assurance helps a lot, and not overreacting, because sometimes children overreact, just becoming very upset, very angry, start to mumble and protest, and well, we have to understand children, especially mature children like you. You have to understand how parents feel and worry. I'm not saying that worry is a good thing, because we have to be confident and faithful in God that He's taking care of His children, But still, it's good to assure your parents and make them feel good about it, But if it is becoming a problem, like worry is more like an anxiety and getting like a disorder or a disease, then we have to take things to another level, like what Abuna said about checking with a professional, or Abuna himself in confession. Okay. Yes, 2 questions.
I read, I guess very recently, a phrase that said, a family altar can alter a family, which I loved, and since then I've been thinking about it, so this is a blessing to have been stopped. Other than, in the interest of time, is there anything that you wanted to say about practically establishing an altar at home? Like, how to go about that, or things that you feel are important to us?
Thank you. Very good question. If we go back to what we said earlier after marriage, if you ask me about the ideal thing, I would rather establish the family altar from day 1 or night 1. Before we go to bed together, husband, wife, or a bride and bridegroom, they need to kneel down or stand and pray before going to bed. So that God may bless their bed. May God bless their marriage together. When they are alone at home in their bedroom, they have to start with this family altar together. And then establishing good habits at home, especially with early marriage. Still it's never too late. If you set the time, you and your spouse, to read a passage from the Bible every day, every night, becoming a habit over the years, you can read the Bible over and over. These are good things. If the time is short, you can compensate that during other times. Pray together. Starting to pray before meals and after meals, short prayers, so God may bless the food. Special events when you have, like, going through the Holy Week or through fasting, and you have this records of hymns or masses, liturgies, and you fill the whole home with the sound of prayers. Not only music or just prayers too. The corner of prayer that we go and pray there, especially when we have Abuna is coming to visit us. And we take Abuna, say, Abuna, please come and bless this corner of prayer. And having at that corner, as we said, some icons and some candles and, things that will invoke or stimulate our spiritual interest and spiritual enjoyment, These are the things: reading Bible, praying together, praising once in a while, things like that. That's good enough for you? Very good. But it's better to start from day 1. But it's never too late to. Yes?
Starting from age 7 and 8, when the kids start to understand, to be rebellion, to resist, to push away, to argue too much, to object, to whine, how to contain them in a positive way, to break down slowly their attitudes?
Well, we need to first to know, have you heard the question? Heard the question? Okay. I mean, we need to, sometimes our children may argue or may protest or may raise their voices or become little disobedient, non-submissive because of something wrong either with us as parents or with the family environment in general. You know, like they are not listened to, for example, like what I said. Kids they want to talk and they don't have anybody listening to their feelings. No communication or bad communication. Children are mad, for example, or upset because they feel jealous, because parents are paying more attention to their younger or older siblings, for example, brothers or sisters. Sometimes it's about something unrelated to home environments, from school. They are not doing something, they are having some problems or bad experience in school. Somebody hurt them one way or another. Sometimes, children go to school and find other kids are bothering them or hurting them. You know, they come back home and start to display all these feelings at home or reactions at home and so on. So we need, in order to understand our children, we have always to check on their feelings. How do you feel about that? How does it feel? How did it feel to you? Anything that is related to feelings helps our children to vent out, speak up and talk and expose their emotions to a parent. And then you can understand. If your 5-6-year-old girl went to school and a boy tried to touch her sexually or do something bad to her, you know, she may come back home and start to act funny. And then, or in a something query here or questionable, you need to know. You need to know what's going on with her feelings. She's feeling guilty about it. She's feeling a lot of shame about it. She doesn't want to talk about it because she's worried about your reaction as a parent. You may blame her for what was going on because you used to blame her for everything and used to tell your child that you are the guilty whatever happens. You know, things like that happen all the time. And that's why we need to take one case at a time and start to know what's behind this behavior, you know. And then sometimes it happens because dad and mom are always saying no to each other. And this is a learning experience that our young kids learn very early in life. Many kids, the first word to say in their lives is the word no, you know. The first thing at age 1, if you ask a child anywhere, say no, because he could understand that the word no is a word of power. It gives him or her power, because he can notice that dad and mom, when they need to assume power, they say no to each other. That's imitation, human nature. And then after that, they go into age 2 and 3 and 4, and the most frequently said word is the word why. Because they are curious. They want to know what's going on. So no becomes why. And then they grow until they become teenagers, and then the word that they will say to you all the time, you don't understand. You don't understand. So these are, different reasons or causes behind our children's behavior. We need to investigate a little bit. But the best advice, encourage your children to speak up, especially at this age, about their feelings and emotions. Yes. Communication of feelings. Yes. Yes, you want to emphasize the need of communication of feelings. Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely.
From anybody in front of me, and I say, he has something in behind,
Right.
and but the action is different than what happened.
Yes.
So I have to go through what happened, what's his feeling to act like that.
Right.
And I found it very, very much.
Absolutely. Thank you. And when you encourage the person to elaborate and vent out feelings, actually you are encouraging the person to get in touch with feelings, and this helps the person fix the problem. Yeah. Three, yes.
No, it's just that, still are the same questions as before. What if this person is manic depressive person in nature?
Yeah.
And he doesn't know, or he doesn't want, or whatever. He's just manic depressive.
Yes.
And he never expresses his feelings. He never expresses what's behind him.
Yeah.
And he never even expresses it in song. He never tried to, look whatever the reason for, his actions or whatever. So how to help this person? What's your role?
Thank you. Some children are silent by nature, or quiet by nature. They are not talkative. They are not explicit about their, exposing their feelings to others, But still, it's healthy to encourage our children to talk, And sometimes they don't talk about feelings because they worry about the consequences. If they say something and this will hurt your feelings, like your child, if he or she is mad at you, he probably worried if he would go to his dad or mom and say, I'm mad at you, my dad, and dad will slap him on the face or slap her on the face. Don't say that, you can't be angry at me. And that's very bad, because it means that you are suppressing feelings. You are not helping your child this way. And sometimes they worry about exposing their feelings because their feelings are too painful to them. They don't want to talk. So still we have to be wise and gentle in helping our children expose their feelings, talk about their feelings. You can just give a statement like say, son, you sound like you are upset. Girl, my daughter, you look like you are sad today. Things like that. They will help with them to start.
And the same with adults.
Huh?
And the same with adults.
Absolutely.
Yeah, now I just want to comment on the adults, because women are usually much more expressive than men when it comes to their emotions, and when it comes to their talking also. On average, and Dr. Yusuf can correct me, but some statistics show that women speak an average of 3 to 4 times as much as men do in one day. Okay? And when I said this statistic to someone, he said, only 3 to 4 times?
15,000 words.
15,000 words a day. This is
And men like 6,000 only.
6,000, yeah. So there you go. But that doesn't mean that men don't have any feelings. Yeah, there's a way that sometimes they don't express their feelings out loud, but still they have feelings. But they have another way of expressing it through taking it all in and being macho, right? Women also can, when they get emotional, they can, show their emotions through crying or doing things or breaking things or, whatever it takes to show their emotions. Men don't do that.
Or I think the reality.
So I want to say that if women are silent, that's a bad sign. A dangerous sign. That means
That's very true.
Yeah,
that's very true.
The silence that comes before the storm. So if men are quiet or silent, that's the norm, right? If women are speaking up their mind, that's the norm. The opposite is a danger. Okay, so it's a red signal. But at the same time, of course, it's not like a general rule for everyone. But just I want to clarify the issue that it's more difficult for men to express their feelings or to say I love you or I care for you or but they may do the action. Women are looking more for the words and for the emotions. So God created us different. So that doesn't mean that one is better than the other or one is worse than the other. But this is how God has made up, humanity, male versus female. And that's okay. It's not a big problem if you don't find, boys, for example, expressing their feelings and coming up to their parents saying, guess what happened in my day and I did this. And it's just, this is how they are. You have to, pulling out information from them is like pulling out teeth, right? This is how it is. Girls are a little bit easier. So I think just realizing this fact might help us a little, even within a marriage or within like a parent-daughter-son relationship, things like this. This might be helpful a bit.
Just one added comment. Actually, they get to express themselves too, but they don't strut themselves in front of anybody except if somebody that's married. So it's not gonna if you wanna talk, or he doesn't really know how to express himself. With his wife, just go on talk. The same with his mom. Like for myself, probably don't really express myself in front of people, but whenever I'm sitting down with my mom, I can go on and talk and express myself and do get all the emotional stuff out, or let's say my professional father, just go on and talk and express stuff as normal. But it's quite harder for men like that. Usually they don't really do it.
That's true. There's a question.
How can we help our children making a good choice that related to their future?
Or in another way to add proper judgment.
Yeah. Well, just summarize the answer in few words, First thing is Christian home environment, home environment full of love and care and attention and listening to feelings, as we say. Number 2 is helping children to assume responsibility for their actions, making a balance between love and firmness, which means adding structure into their lives, helping them make right decisions, And the third and most important thing is role modeling and good examples at home. Just to summarize, because probably we need one day for that. Yes? Sure.
I think when we raise our children to know God and pray, and ask God for decisions, so we are helping them to take good decisions, because we are human. Sometimes we love them, we think we know all the answers, but no. So I think probably teaching them to pray and to know God.
Right. That's what I meant by Christian thing, taking them to church and sacraments and Bible and all of that. Yes, ma'am.
Doctor, which is a better way of resolving conflict?
Of what? Better way of what?
Resolving conflict.
Resolve.
For example, between a husband and a wife, or a mother and her children, or whatever. I don't know, in my book, I feel it is a better way of resolving conflict is to finish it that same day before you go to bed at night, so that everything is out in the open and it's done. But maybe my spouse is not feeling that way. He's not feeling that, we have to share it at that specific moment. Maybe we have to wait till some other day. When I know in my spouse that if I leave it till the next day, it will build up and it will be a bigger problem. So I don't know how to approach conflict.
Yeah.
How do I approach conflict? Should I resolve that same minute so that we go to bed at night happy and peaceful? Or should we wait till the next year until someone decides to share?
I think we have a lecture on Sunday about resolving conflicts, the whole lecture, Sunday afternoon. Are they all invited, Yamuna?
Now they are.
Now they are.
Actually, God willing, Dr. Yusri will be with us on Sunday with the Divine Liturgy. And there is a session for the marriage preparation class, which is a little bit in the evening. But I will ask Dr. Yusri, of course, وحضرتك تبقى معانا في القداس صح؟ الصبح.
كنت بفكر اروح احضر قداس 40 بتاع حد تاني ما قلتش
هتاخد الخدمة. ممكن بعديها نعمل اجتماع للشعب تكفر الموضوع ده نفسه.
الساعة
أو مثلا على 12 نبتدي 12. ممكن
هاخد العنوان بس بتاع الكنيسة.
Okay. So that's wonderful. So God willing, Dr. Yossi will announce this meeting, and we have the pre-marriage, but we'll have the post-marriage conflict resolution, a meeting about family right after the divine liturgy on Sunday from 12 to 1, because we're allowed to stay in the school only until 1 o'clock. So we can have it from 12 to 1.
Okay.
This is for the post-marriage. The pre-marriage will be from 4 to 6 in the evening.
Yes.
So you can have the option.
4 to 6 is before marriage.
Pre-marriage.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Yes.
Going back to who says sorry first, or like finding an excuse for your child or your husband, or he bangs the door that he's angry. I feel like when I do that all the time and finding an excuse all the time, I fear that he's not going to see this excuse.
Yes.
And he's going to get used to all the time.
Yes.
Or to find even a person in life further, but later on he's going to be able to deal with it.
Yes. Thank you. But if you remember, I gave you two models. The model of a person who can be, a problem that can be fixed by going to my spouse and say, I am sorry and I apologize, and move on with the situation over the time, and you feel that this can change the person over the time. And this depends on your gut feelings. And the other model is the model of addiction, someone who is hurting his or her family, himself or herself all the time. I cannot enable this person. I cannot just give him a pat on the back and say, good boy, good girl, go and get drunk and come back home. Don't worry, we love you, we forgive you. No. If the problem of the person, the family member, cannot be fixed by gentleness and love and care, probably the only thing will be fixed by confrontation and spiritual intervention or professional intervention in this case. So this depends on the situation. If the person who is probably abusive, I'll give you a husband who is abusive, used to humiliate or abuse physically or emotionally or verbally his wife. You cannot just ask the wife to tolerate that and then get into depression and go to the hospital for treatment for the rest of her life. You cannot ask for that. This means that you are enabling the perpetrator, who is the husband in this case, to keep doing his behavior all the time and be rewarded. You cannot. And in this case, you are not helping him, because this means that you are actually indirectly encouraging him to keep up with his negative behavior. But if someone is abusive, and we have to say, no, you can have no right to abuse. I love you, I care about you, but you don't have the right to abuse me. And if you do something worse than that, then you will have to pay for the consequences of your action. This is warning. And this is part of love, because our Lord Jesus Christ used to do the same things with sinners, to confront them, so that they may repent. So this depends on the situation, but I wanted to put all models before you, because what is used to be done these days is just the easy way. In May of last year, I was invited to talk about in a session, and they selected the title of the session, البوليس أم القسيس. يعني الواحد لما يتخانق مع جوزه أو مراته ينده لهم القسيس ولا ينده البوليس أم القسيس. So I said it's not the police or the قسيس. all depends on the arus and the aris. So, I mean, things depend on how they interact and they communicate with each other. Okay? But sometimes we have to think, and I remember when I talked to you about setting the priorities and always keeping in your mind that the most significant thing in life is our salvation and my partner's salvation, my children's salvation. Thank you so much. I think we are about to finish. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much to Dr. Yusri, and please give him a big hand. And also, we cannot forget to mention Dr. Muna, who is Dr. Yusri's wife and his partner in all of his, or many of his travels. Also, we welcome her amongst us. Please also. بس البوليس او السيس ساعات